Welcome back to the Celtic Way. We're live at 5. The work's kind of done, but now we can talk about it all and smile about it all. I'm Tony Haggerty at Haggerty10 on the X and the Twitter handle, and I'm joined by Ryan McGinley at the Ryan McGinley. Celtic 2, Rangers 1, the reaction. Brendan Rodgers, Great Dane, fires the side to the brink of title glory. Ryan, we both had a small phone call after the game, and we both said in unison, "Yes," didn't we? Down the phone, and then hung up because there was work to do. I think we're all just relieved that Celtic got that one over the line in the end, aren't they?
Yeah, relief. Relief is definitely the word that I would use to describe the end of that game. It felt like there was a collective sigh of relief once the final whistle went. Celtic, as they have been doing for this season, for the duration of this season, making things very, very difficult for themselves. You know, to go, it was almost a carbon copy of the game that took place
Yep.
in December. The only difference was that it was about 20 degrees hotter in the stadium and around the stadium. It's still warm at this point just now. It's absolutely sweltering, so apologies in advance if you can maybe see me sweating a bit on the other side of the screen. But yeah, a sigh of relief. I think there'll be more joy as the night goes on when the more you think about it. Doesn't matter how you win a league, doesn't matter how you win a game or a Glasgow derby, as long as you win it by any means necessary. That has been the message from the fans to the team, and they answered that call. They answered the call this afternoon. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't stylish, although there was some stylish moments in the game, but they got the job done, and
I
that was the main
think
thing. They got the
I think
job done.
the game was microcosmic of the season, wasn't it? Scintillating at times when they're on it, but it can be a hard watch when they're off it. At times, and the manager alluded to that as well, where they can get better, take care of the football, fall in love with the football. And that's why he said he took Hattati off, because he was giving the ball away. But Celtic won. Matt O'Reilly scored his 15th goal of the season and his 100th start for Celtic. Joe Hart made his 150th appearance for Celtic. John Lundstrom scored an OG, and how's this for reverse 1979, Ryan? Stubbs' horse saying 10 men lost the league, which I find quite droll. John Lundstrom also being red carded in that match, and Matt O'Reilly also missing a penalty, Ryan, as well.
Yep.
It was an eventful game, to say the least. And I'm sure Henry Winter, who was writing for the Herald, will have enjoyed it, and he had lots to talk about.
There was a lot of eyes, a lot of global eyes on the game today, because I also noticed that Guillem Balaguer was at the game too. The famous Spanish journalist reporter
Yeah.
that used to do, I think he still does the La Liga coverage somewhere. He will be talking about Real Madrid or
He,
Barcelona in
he,
some capacity.
appeared
But
he's appeared in this pod, Ryan, before. Guillaume
has he?
Balaguer.
Wow,
He
need to get him
previewed
back on if that's the
the
case.
Real Madrid game for us. Yes, so maybe get him back on to talk about his thoughts
He
on
seemed to
this.
enjoy it by all accounts.
I'm sure he would have.
Pictures
Yeah,
were absolutely brilliant. Yeah. I think we should get and talk about the sponsors and our special offer before we get in and dissect this
go
game
on.
any further. Before we get too ahead of ourselves and talk about the game and what this game means for the rest of the season. Spoiler alert: Celtic will very probably win the league from this, or you would expect them to win the league. If they don't win the league from this situation, then it'd be a calamity, a calamitous result. But I think they'll be fine. I think they'll sort it on Tuesday, if not at the very latest on Wednesday. But before we get into talking about everything to do with the game, another Glasgow Derby victory, a third Glasgow Derby victory of the season for Celtic, we'd like to bring up our sponsors, who are Weissman and MPH Group. We're thrilled to have Weissman, who are a global leader in the boiler industry, known for their top-notch German engineering, sponsor our podcast. And what's more exciting, they've teamed up with Scotland's very own award-winning installation team, NPH Boilers, making this a perfect match right here in Scotland. Weissman's boilers are engineered to deliver not just warmth, but unparalleled efficiency and reliability. We're talking about cutting-edge technology that's designed to save you on energy bills and reduce emissions. And with MPH Boilers, you know you're getting service from the best in the business, a local team that is committed to excellence and customer satisfaction. As part of this incredible partnership, when you choose a Weissman boiler installed by MPH Boilers, you'll also get a free internet controller, making it a breeze to manage your heating anytime, anywhere. Plus, they're offering the first year's service free. It's all about giving you peace of mind and making sure that you're looked after. So if your boiler's showing its age or you're considering an upgrade, this is your chance to get world-class engineering with local expert service. Weissman and MPH Boilers, it's a match made in Scotland. Make sure to check them out and take the first step towards a warmer, more efficient home. And I will just bring up the special offer that we've got just now. Someone who was no stranger to winning in Glasgow derbies, Martin O'Neill. 6 months of access for £1, plus you could win a lunch with Celtic legend Martin O'Neill. This is open to our existing subscribers as well as any new subscribers. So if you are subscribed to the channel, if you're subscribed to the website rather, then you will be automatically entered into this once in a lifetime opportunity to meet a Celtic legend and have lunch with a Celtic legend. So if you haven't already subscribed, visit www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe and get involved with this offer. It's a once in a lifetime deal. We really do appreciate everybody that's joined us thus far. If you join us, you'll get access to the instant analysis as well as the player ratings done by Tony and myself respectively. So if you're looking for that, if you're looking for the best Celtic content, look no further than the Celtic Way, and we thank everybody for joining us thus far. Tony, I'll bring it back to you.
Indeed. I was just going to ask you if you had fun, but I'm sure you did, young man.
It's not my idea of fun, Tony. I'll be perfectly honest. Put me through the ringer, this team, to be honest. But yeah, it wasn't a celebration at full time for me anyway. You know, the work was still to be done and still had to do the player ratings, but it was a sigh of relief. It's been a roller coaster season, and you just feel as if Celtic have now got their grasp on the title that they've been looking for all season.
But to be fair, the manager kept his word, Ryan. You will be seeing him in May back at Celtic Park. And 1 point is all they need from Kilmarnock and St Mirren game. And yourself and myself will be down at Rugby Park on Wednesday, hoping that they can finish what they started, Ryan. But yeah, just delighted that Celtic have won the match. And could have been better. Probably should have been a more handsome margin of victory. They just seem to struggle at times when they play against 10 men, don't they? And that was certainly the case today. But listen, we would all have been annoyed if Celtic hadn't done anything other than won 3 points from that game today. So, and someone's put in the comments section that, and I think Patrick McLaughlin's flicked it up as well, Rangers had one shot on target in a game they had to win. And that tells you it all for me, Ryan. I think it was Celtic's kind of, profligacy in front of goal, missing chances, even shots from long range. Matt O'Reilly opened the scoring with a shot from long range, but both he and Callum McGregor had peppered Jack Buckland's goal in the first half with shots from distance, and could have and probably should have done better with their efforts.
I gave Matt O'Reilly a 10 out of 10 for the player ratings last week. He got a 9 out of 10 this week because if he brought his shooting boots, and I know he scored that goal, the opener, which was a stunning goal, which was a stunning move from, I think it was Forrest McGregor, and then Matt O'Reilly just ghosting into that position. That's his domain. I've seen it happen so many times now over the past few weeks. Just that wee instep just outside the box. That's where he wants to be. He'll peel out wide and sort of go on the corner or the edge of the box. That's his domain. That's where he wants to operate. And I don't know what John Lundstrom's doing. I think he's sleeping. He had a dreadful first half. Not just the goal that he conceded for the own goal, but for his movement for the first goal. He totally leaves his marker and is nowhere near him. And then just to compound it with the red card at the end, which was a Stonewaller red card. I thought it looked dangerous at the time. As soon as it went to VAR, you knew it was going to be given. It was an out of control tackle from John Lundstrom. It seemed as if he was a player that was trying to get himself G'd up after having a terrible first 43 minutes, and they allowed himself to get sucked into the atmosphere and emotion of the game. And I've got to be honest, when that happened, the red card happened, I was a tad worried about a tackle that Hatate made a couple of minutes later.
Sure, yeah. I
was like, do not let yourself get into the emotion of this game. There's a lot riding on it. It's 10v11. You cannot make it 10v10 because it brings Rangers right back into the tie. It was already 2-1 at that point. Thankfully, that was just a yellow card, and Brendan Rodgers did well in bringing him off near enough towards the end, although I think there was an argument to maybe take him off at half-time.
I tell you what was even more bizarre. Kenny Miller. If you get the chance, listen to the audio and Kenny Miller talking about Lundstrom's challenge. It's
I have
frightening.
already.
It's frightening that a professional footballer can see it that way, but don't want to spend time on him. But yeah, just wow. If you get the chance to hear it, ladies and gentlemen, go and do yourself a favour and have a listen. And you ask yourself what he's seeing in that situation, but I guess you know what he's seeing in that situation. So there you go.
I don't understand how that can be anything other than a red. He studs his ankle.
Correct.
It's dangerous. It's nowhere near the ball.
It's
Johnson does know what he's
reckless,
doing.
it's wild, and it's out of control.
Mm-hmm.
So
Johnson's brave. Johnson's very brave to take that tackle.
Every criteria for a red card it ticks. So just blue tinted spectacles, clearly. But yeah, there you go. Anyway, Celtic win the game 2-1, 6 points clear and 6 goals of a difference with 6 to play for. 6 points to play for, 2 games left. A huge hand wrapped around that Scottish Premiership trophy, 3 in a row. And yeah, and I'll get the kind of negatives out the road as well, Ryan.
I think we need to, yeah.
See the Celtic supporters that are throwing stuff at James Tavernier?
A disgrace.
You don't represent me. You're absolutely moronic and you are a cretin. And someday, you were in that stadium today and the Brendan Rodgers had asked for Celtic to be the best representation of themselves. You've let the Celtic fans down. Most of them, majority of them, were the best representation of themselves inside the ground today. But the stuff being thrown at James Tavernier, it's disgraceful. It's out of order. Despicable, fair. Call it what you like, and it has to be called out by people.
The Celtic fans, the fans on the other side of the ground were calling it out as well. There was a lot of disdain.
Disgraceful, yeah. And you don't represent myself, don't represent any of the Celtic supporters with that kind of behaviour, and it doesn't. It's uncalled for. There is no need for that inside Celtic Park. So, yeah, I think Hazel Finn. Don't represent me either. She's saying it's unacceptable. It is unacceptable, and hopefully, whoever the culprit is caught and dealt with accordingly, because they need that to be weeded out the game, Ryan. There is no room for that at all.
Here, every word that you've said, I completely agree with. You know, you've seen Joe Hart, or the Joe Hart was getting pelted with things at Ibrox a couple of years ago. It's the same. You can't act this, and you will get people like this in every support around Scotland, around Britain, around the world. It's just, there's no place for it in modern football or any football at all, regardless of what level that you play at. It's even worse that it's at the highest level, and this is happening. So yeah, the good thing is there was a lot of people that called out the throwing of objects onto the field as well. Where I was sitting in the North Stand upper, loads of people were shouting their displeasure.
I'm glad about that.
But I've been hearing quite a few conflict, and I can obviously talk about the atmosphere because I was at the game. I was in the stadium at the point. It maybe wasn't as good an atmosphere as the Hearts game, if I'm being perfectly honest. The Hearts game, but that was down to the way that the game was played and the players on the park were playing. The last 20-25 minutes, that was a nervy stadium. 10 men. They were up for 10 men for the majority of the game, you know, or all of the second half and a bit of the first half. But there was nerves. There was a lot of nerves in and around the stadium. And I think the Celtic players were negatively feeding off of that because their play get nervous. They were doing silly things on the park.
The manager called it spot on. Matt O'Reilly scores that penalty. It's 3-1. You relax. They're not coming back from that at all in any shape or form. They just kept getting lifelines, didn't they? But if Celtic scored the penalty, you can easily see that game being a 4-1, 5-1, 6-1, can't you?
Yep.
I think the manager said that, and I'm in total agreement with him as well. And the manager also had a lot to say, and it goes back to what I said a while ago when if Celtic can get this title over the line, he will have his say. And he had a bit of a say today, Ryan, after the game.
My goodness, he
did. He's been absolutely brilliant today, and he said, I was treated like a novice when I came back to Celtic. People thinking like it was his first job. It ain't his first rodeo. How long have I been saying for long and weary, this elite level manager will guide us over the line and steer us over the line? he was the biggest asset we had in this title run. I kept telling anybody that would listen, and there's a tweet that lots of people have saved on my behalf. I will put it out later on tonight. I tweeted it in June, and I said Celtic meant business when they bought Brendan Rodgers back. It was the appointment, and this is why I say now it was the appointment. I stood by him when people were slaughtering him, giving him pelters. The team weren't playing so well, and I feel vindicated by that because I know what he is and I know what he's got. And I tell you what he is, he's a winner.
He is. He's a winner, and you can't buy success, but you put yourself in the best possible position by bringing in elite operators. Now, we've got an elite operator off the park, and we've got some elite operators on the park, but this summer has got to be the time for the board to stand up and give him some more elite operators. I don't want to single out people, but I'm going to have to in this game, unfortunately, and talk about some players that just were not up to standard this afternoon. Yes, they got through in the end at the back, but Liam Scales and Greg Taylor are two positions of the park, the left-sided centre-half and the left-back. Those are two positions that have got to be strengthened in the summer.
I tell you what, I tell you what, Ryan, see if they give Brendan Rodgers the kind of cash that he wants to bring in quality players, you can reassert your dominance again, all over again, with a manager with his own players. That's what I keep talking about, the recalibration for the new competition that you're going to go into, a new way of thinking. You know, first step in the other day with the South American scout. And that's what I want to see, Ryan. I now want a head of recruitment that Brendan Rodgers wants. I want players that are coming in, and as you mentioned out there, a couple of players that aren't good enough. The Celtic need to start thinking about taking this forward. And I think that was the first shot over the bow today with Brendan saying, right, I've managed to do this despite all of this, not because you helped me, certain people upstairs, but I've done it because I'm a talented man and I got this team over the line and they listened and we had a smattering of stardust. But in order to take the team where he wants to take them and where the supporters want to be, then it's a total new way of thinking come the summer.
Yep. I don't think you can afford to have some players that clearly are not good at passing the ball in a passing team, and a team that's possession heavy. Scales will move forward 10, 20, 30, 40 yards, and there's an easy pass there, and yet he makes it look as if it's the most difficult pass known to man. I don't want this to be a hounding exercise on Scales because he's had some really good games this season. I'm fine with him having the Tony Ralston role coming off of the bench. Ralston had a great game when he came on today, really understood what was required for the rest of the game, won 2 or 3 massive headers at the end that were the difference between Celtic winning the game and drawing the game. Yes, a draw wouldn't have been an absolute nightmare considering the way the league is, but get a win, get it sorted, and Ralston had that. It's honestly one of Ralston's most effective contributions off of a bench I think I've ever seen. I thought he really understood what was required this afternoon.
I've also got to say the goal that Celtic lost was criminal, and it's a carbon.
You knew it was coming though.
Yeah,
you knew that goal was coming.
Carbon copy of goals that they've conceded all season, and shooting themselves in the foot and creating their own problems. But again, I'm getting all the kind of negativity, or if you want to be,
there's more positives than negatives.
Yeah, of course there is. Let's focus on the positive. And I love the way the manager said that was a victory for all the Celtic supporters in the pubs and bars around the world and the houses and all that. He just says he said he's been there himself, watching it and boozers and getting nervous, that kind of stuff. And he just says every Celtic supporter understands when it comes to Celtic and Rangers, the object of the exercise is winning. And Celtic won today, and as I say, they wrapped an almighty hand round the Scottish Premiership trophy. It's a monumental collapse for it to go. Pete Tong now just can't see it, and they're going down to Kilmarnock. And I think there's a wee bit of poetic justice with it being Kilmarnock, Ryan. The fact that Kilmarnock have beaten Celtic twice this season at Rugby Park, it would be a wee bit sweet to go down there and clinch it, wouldn't it?
It would rewrite all the wrongs that have been this season, because you think of the game against Hearts. Hearts beat Celtic twice this season, but they got the win in the end at Celtic Park when it really mattered in this business end of the season. When push comes to shove, Brendan Rodgers' side succeeded. against Rangers. I know they drew in the last game at Ibrox. It was a good draw looking back on it, but they righted that wrong by winning it today. Doesn't matter how they won it, but they won it. Now it's the chance to get that revenge. Kilmarnock have beaten Celtic twice this season and got a draw at home. It's now time to right that wrong and get a win at Rugby Park. The league may even be finished by the time that Celtic kick off if Rangers don't win. There is pressure on Rangers to... Maybe there's pressure, maybe there's not. I'm not sure exactly. It's a bit of a weird title race in that regard where they're so far behind, but they need to win in order to just keep it going. They don't want to fall on... They don't want to just surrender the title like that. They'll want to win and push it for as long as possible. In order... I think Rangers probably will win on the Tuesday, which means the Wednesday Celtic have got a job to do. Get that win at Rugby Park. It'll be an amazing atmosphere. The Celtic support will come in their thousands. Even if there's less supporters than there was previously, they'll still make a racket. And it's going to be a great atmosphere. I'm already looking forward to going to Rugby Park. I just feel like there's a good mood around the place at the moment, even more so after a derby victory, a third derby victory of this season. Doesn't matter what you say about Brendan Rodgers' football or his style, which is getting better, by the way. There was some great moments today of lovely interplay. Matt O'Reilly has just clicked into gear. The best player in Scotland at the moment by some distance. Doesn't matter about awards that are getting handed out just now. Everybody knows that Matt O'Reilly's the best player in Scotland. It's kind of like an unspoken fact that I'm just... the football that Matt O'Reilly is playing at the moment, and it's not just his goals, and he is scoring goals recently, but it's his overall play. He wins interceptions, he wins the ball back, his passing is good, his movement is good, he gets in the right areas. I think he's a manager's dream, to be honest, and he's a dream for any team that will probably step up and pay top dollar for him in the summer, unfortunately.
I have to say, I gave Lewis Palmer tight early in the season for hitting a lackadaisical penalty. I'm going to dig Matt out, and he had a word for it. He swore on Sky Sports.
Yep.
By saying he kind of changed his mind mid penalty, and and I'm all for coolness and nonchalance, and I get all that, but it was a big moment today when he missed that penalty because there was a real negative energy creeped in after that, and the manager picked up on it, and and I guess that's why he got a 9 instead of a 10, because apart from that, he was flawless. But he did blot his copybook with that penalty today. But what a tremendous strike, and what a wonderful performance. And you enjoy Matt O'Reilly while you still can. And
yes,
we're not being negative. Some people are saying there's lots of negativity abounding, but we're just picking up on things. It could have been a lot better today, and I think we are very aware that the win was all that mattered, and they won. So
I'm just
on you go.
I'm just seeing a great tweet from Dyson Maeda at the moment. It just came up onto my feed there as we were live. It's Dyson Maeda jumping into the crowd saying, "I didn't know that if you go up to the fans you get a yellow card." Oh well. It's interesting. I don't think he's at it at all. I don't think he's wind up there whatsoever. Football is completely different in Japan to what it is in Scotland. It's very much a spectator game in Japan where you sit and watch the football.
Ryan, he was just having fun.
It's great to see that though from Maeda, because you don't normally see that from a player like him. He just keeps his head down and keeps on motoring on.
I wish he would have stayed on side, because his second finish was top draw. He shouldn't be offside for that. He should be looking along the line. So I honestly, I was a wee bit annoyed at him for that, because these are basics. But I said in the instant analysis, he is going to be a cult icon of Celtic in years to come when he's long gone, and just one of the most popular quiet assassins that I've ever seen pull on a green and white jersey. And I just love what he brings. That mixed bag that he brings, a mixed bag mind, as I say. So it's just, he is the Forrest Gump, isn't he? He's the box of chocolates player. You just don't know what you're going to get.
But I like that. There's an article in that, Tony.
Do you think so?
I think so.
Gump. But he is, but you get You get
He's
100%. He's a team player. He just really is. And Tavernier had scored Rangers' last 3 goals at Celtic Park. He was nowhere near the position to.
he was very quiet today.
He was
Very,
quiet,
very quiet.
and he was quiet for a reason. In fact, one of the first times I saw him was when the Cretin threw something at him. So I was, and that's just testament to the job that Dyson Maeda does. But yeah, but yeah, he is. He'll be lauded when he leaves. He really will.
He will. I just want to talk about him for a good 30 seconds to a minute, if you don't mind.
Go on.
I think he's the most, in my time watching Celtic, he is the most unique player that I've ever watched playing for the club. He gets judged differently than other players because he doesn't always control the ball. My goodness, he controlled the ball for the making of that second goal. What a first touch. You know, a broken clock is right twice a day sometimes, and Dyson Maeda's touch leaves a lot to be desired at the best of times. But what a pick out, what a touch. And he puts it into an area. I think Kyogo's going to tap it home. Lundstrom has to make that. He has to make a movement towards the ball. Unfortunately, it just trickles home in what is probably the worst 43 minutes of 43 minutes of Lundstrom's career. To be honest, it was a dreadful showing from the exiting Rangers midfielder, because I think he's leaving at the end of the season.
Yeah.
It's not the best way to leave things, but Maeda, he is the most unique player to ever maybe pull on the Celtic jersey, but he's so
it
can never be faulted.
Oh yeah, see when his delivery's bang on the money, Ryan, things happen. You take Jota with the brazen header at Hamlin, he was the first to react and just clipped the ball over. There you go and put it in the net. And as you say, put that ball right across the 6-yard box where the Rangers players had to react. Lundstrom turns it into his own net, but Kyogo's going to get it anyway, isn't he? Capable of doing some utterly wonderful and brilliant things, and then capable of having you scratching your head and saying, have you ever seen a ball before, Dyson? That kind of stuff. And I love players like that. Players like that get you excited for all the right reasons and all the wrong reasons. As I say, you just don't know what you're going to get with them, but what you do know you'll get is a consummate professional and a performance for the team that he will sacrifice himself for the team on days like today. And I would have loved him to have scored with one of those chances that he was offside with. It was made life a wee bit more easier on the Celtic supporters.
The thing about Rangers is that they weren't getting any joy out of him. It's the most attacking I think I've seen him look in a long time as well, in terms of running at people. I don't know if he's added something extra to his game, but he looked half a yard faster today. He looked like he was up for the battle. I think he knew that he was going to get joy from James Tavernier, who is admittedly, he's a very talented footballer, but he's not a talented defender. He's not a good defender. And Dyson Maeda fed off of that. He smelt blood today, and that's what he got.
He'll be sick of the sight of Dyson Maeda, won't he? And
he still get one more meeting in the cup final. So.
Well, I mean, looking ahead to that, Celtic will really need to raise their levels, Ryan, because they will be playing a wounded animal, as they say, at Hampden. But before I talk about anything else, I just wanted to say I thought Willie Collum had an excellent game today. Thought he got it bang on, and I didn't see him getting involved in controversy, and he was pretty firm and solid with his decision making. I get that a couple of things he maybe he could nitpick, but stood by his penalty decision.
Do you want me to nitpick?
Go on, nitpick.
I can nitpick.
I know you right.
I counted 4 or 5 fouls that Diomande made in the first half, and he wasn't booked. The first booking of the game was Dyson Maeda for running at the crowd, which was a yellow, but it shouldn't have been the first yellow card in the game. It was persistent fouling, and it was a Celtic player. I'd be interested to see the foul totals between the two sides.
I think unless it was a Lundstrom moment, I think he was trying to let things go as much as he could. I'm giving Willie Collum the benefit of the doubt on that, right? If it wasn't...
He got the big calls right.
He got the big calls right. And Diomande probably for persistent fouling, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say, unless it was a Lundstrom type thing, he didn't want to send MD off,
No.
So, and then he was told to go to the monitor to have a look at it, because he booked, and he had the courage of his convictions to say, no, I've looked at that again, I'm over time. And then he had the courage of his convictions to say, what I saw in real time was a penalty kick. And they were saying, "Oh, you better go and look at that," and and he was like, "No, penalty kick," because that's what he saw. Unlike your man at Ibrox, who saw Alistair Johnson taking the ball and Silva going over him, and then he was made to go back, and he never had the courage of his convictions to stand by his decision. So I applaud Willie Collum for that today, and he never got involved in anything. He just, he is a teacher, isn't he? He always speaks to players like he's a school teacher. He's always kind of angry and snapping back at them. And I think sometimes players like that, because they know where you stand with them. So I'll praise him and say I thought he got the big calls right, and I thought he tried to give players the benefit of the doubt in terms of you mentioned Diomande, and he probably should have been booked, but I would have been more perturbed if he'd have started booking Celtic players for their first or second fill and let Diomande away with that. But he didn't really. So I think you have to give credit where it's due at times.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. He got all the big decisions right. There wasn't any real controversial moments. There wasn't any bits at like a knife edge of like was it going to? If you're feeling a bit perplexed about the penalty, I guess you'll think that justice was served by Matt O'Reilly missing the penalty, so you won't have that won't be as big a flashpoint because they didn't actually score the penalty. If they did score the penalty, then that would be something that would be talked about for the next few days. You just know that would be the case. But yeah, what I said was if Celtic were good enough on the day, then the referee wouldn't matter. Yes, he did have a hand to play in the red card, but it was a red card challenge from Lundstrom. That's why VAR's there to upgrade these tackles when the referee doesn't see it as a red, but the VAR does. And you've got to give credit to the VAR. I think it was Stephen McLean that was on VAR. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He shouted the referee over to have a second look at it to see if he could upgrade it, and it was a red card. I mean, people are saying, "Oh, when it looks bad if you slow it down." A bad challenge is a bad challenge, whether you slow it down or not. It's just conclusive evidence that a bad tackle is just that. Lundstrom, it was a red card. You could tell. Body language, players don't have the best poker faces or poker bodies or whatever you want to call it. You can tell when a player knows that he's maybe in the sin bin. And that was definitely the case. I've seen the clips back, and if anything, I'm even more certain that it's a red card. So yeah, props to the referee, props to the VAR. It didn't have that much of an impact on the overall proceedings of the game, bar the red card. So that was pretty good in that regard.
Props to Brendan Rodgers, Matt O'Reilly, and Callum McGregor. That's what I wanted to bring up.
Masterstroke from Brendan Rodgers, the way he's worked on.
Callum McGregor's a fantastic footballer, and you didn't think that on today's show, and then we shall agree to differ. I thought as much as it was an O'Reilly masterclass, there was a masterclass from McGregor as well. This guy was meant to be out for these games, and he sat there yesterday in the press conference and said, it gave me a long time frame, and he just basically went, sod that. What do I need to do to get myself fit for these games? I'm not missing the running. And I just love that attitude, Ryan, and the manager has worked him perfectly. Lots of people were saying that, when he came on against Rangers and gave away the second equaliser to make it 2 each, and he was off it, and he was off it, and he knew himself, and nobody has to tell top-notch footballers when you're off it, but he has absolutely he's been brilliant he was brilliant last week, and he was excellent today. So yeah, I've got nothing but praise for Callum McGregor today.
All part of the plan from Brendan Rodgers, I would say. If he's worked this out, that this is how you get him fit for this massive game against Rangers at Celtic Park, then he's timed it to perfection. He's actually used the title running as a mini pre-season for Callum McGregor to get him ready for this game, which is incredible. But that's Callum McGregor for you. When you need him most, when Celtic need him most, he steps up to the plate. That is why when people say captain, leader, legend, he is a captain, he is a leader, and he most certainly is a legend. Look at his trophy cabinet. If he was to retire right now, he would already be a legend. Thankfully, he's still got a good few years left to consolidate on this glittering trophy cabinet that he's amassed. James Forrest too, who was brilliant on the day. I thought he gave I thought he gave Borna Barisic an absolute torrid time, especially in the first half. There was a moment in particular where he had Barisic on skates, a player that has not had a lot of joy in this fixture, it must be said. But I think James Forrest smelt a bit of weakness there down that side. It's a risky game that you play, and I don't want to talk about Rangers too much, but two players that very publicly are going to be leaving the club in the summer, and Barisic and Lundstrom. Very difficult to depend on players whose heads are already halfway out the door. Yeah. And it didn't pay off. I think we'll see a very different Rangers next season in terms of personnel. That could have been one of the last games that we've seen these players play. I think it was Chris Boyd that was saying that in the Sky Sports studio. It will be a different Rangers next season, but I think it'll be a different Celtic too. Because I don't think they'll sit in their hands with us.
That's what always makes me laugh when people say that, oh, you'll see a different Rangers and, you know, different players and all that. As if Celtic are going to stand still. Celtic have now got a wonderful opportunity to put the boot in the throat here for a wee while under this elite level manager, as we call him, and operating in the transfer market like a big club. Act like a big club. I always say that. You know, Celtic have got a wonderful chance now to act like a big club. They're going to get access to potential windfall of 60 million for winning this title. And that's massive for Celtic when you also see the coffers that they already supposedly have in the bank. You know, you spend that wisely and prudently, and you give it to a manager like that to spend. You know, Celtic ain't standing still. They're going to move forward as well. So, and then you say to yourself, if it's another rebuild over the other side of the city, where's the finance for that coming from? How's that going to work out? But I don't really concern myself with that, Ryan. I concern myself with the fact that Celtic have now got a wonderful opportunity to dominate again for a large period of time, and that's what it's all about. It's about getting that money and then using it wisely. And I think now a lot of the Celtic supporters will trust the manager. I think they trust any kind of lingering doubts with trust issues and what he brings to this club should be swept away. As I say, he posted it in June. I'll see you in May. Wasn't he arrogant? It's just the way he felt. Just the way he felt about his own. He's confident in his own ability, confident in being able to get that group of players over the line. Yeah, at moments this season, it wasn't looking good, and he came in for ferocious criticism. Some a bit over the top, if you ask me. But I think he's proven. I didn't have anything to prove, but I think he's shown his class. He's kept his dignity, he's kept his respect, but above all else, he's kept Celtic where they should be, at the top of the tree, because he's a born winner.
This is just what he does. This is what Brendan Rodgers does at Celtic. He wins. It's all he's known at Celtic, to be honest. I think even the League Cup defeat to Kilmarnock will have really annoyed him and irked him. Remember what he was talking about when he went to Hampden, when he was playing against Aberdeen. That was his first Hampden thing, and he's like, it's been a while since I've been at Hampden. I'm annoyed I couldn't have went there earlier. This is the winning mentality. That press conference in front of the media, that was I told you so. That was that you all doubted me. Well, nobody's doubting me anymore. And for me, I think he's got the trust. I think he's got the trust of the supporters. But for me, what is more important now is the trust from the board and the hierarchy to Brendan Rodgers. You have got to trust him with funds in the summer. You've got the makings of a very, very good squad here. Yes, there's some players that haven't made the grade. I'd probably be looking to move them on, at least on loan, if not permanently, if they're not going to make the grade. Bring in 4 or 5 pieces of quality for the players that will leave the club and in positions that need to be strengthened. If they can do that, then I can't see why Celtic won't win more trophies next season.
It was interesting, Ryan, because the camera panned to the director's box and Peter Law was standing beside Dermot Desmond. Peter Law was kind of clapping, but pretty expressionless. The mustachioed one was clapping, but he had a big cheeser on his face, you know. I'm thinking, that's your man. You now have to just say, do you know what?
He's Desmond's man. He always has
Desmond's man. Yes, correct. So he can see it for himself. He's won the title despite not a lot of help from those upstairs at Celtic. Get back to that, giving him substandard players, and yet he still managed to produce when it mattered. when it mattered. There's a narrative out there that Rangers have thrown this title away. That's absolute cobblers. Celtic have beaten them 3 times and drawn them once this season.
It seems to always be the case, though.
And they've came
Celtic
to the
can never win a title, clearly.
Came to the fore at the business end. They've came alive, as the manager said, we'll write our own story. They've written their own story, right?
He said it all.
But see, he's told you time and time again, and for the more astute ones who have listened, then it's come to fruition. Everything that he said would happen has happened. So I'm not buying any narrative that Rangers threw this away and all that cobblers that's surrounding this. Celtic have won this title and deservedly so. And as I said before, the biggest asset that we had coming down the stretch was our elite level manager for reasons other than just results. Just the mindset. I mean, his mindset the past few weeks has been utterly textbook. The way he's handled everything, and he's been entitled to have his wee pop today. By saying, because he ain't no novice. And I think that's just a wee barb to those people out there who maybe doubted why he was back and what he was back for. And to me, he's the best thing that's happened to the club since Ange left. And moving forward, I'm delighted that he's here for however long he's here for.
Yes, it's absolute vindication, this result this afternoon, because yes, it gives you one hand and a couple of fingers onto the title. You need to sort that out in the midweek. Hopefully that is the case and everything's wrapped up for a joyous day this time next week. Is it next Saturday? Celtic play next Sunday. Is it next Saturday?
Sunday, I think.
Double check that. Saturday or Sunday. It's one of the days in the weekend. I know that for sure. If they can wrap it up and during the week, then it'll be a great weekend for the club, and then they can have all focus on what is going to happen at Hampden the week after. Just it's vindication for me. This is the reason why Brendan Rodgers came back to the club
next Saturday, Ryan, at 12:30. Yeah.
And I do agree with him to an extent that people called him, or they weren't saying he was a novice, but that's the way that we were treating him. When people need to realise that he's a better manager the second time around than he is the first time. He's been managing up against your Contes, your Guardiolas, your Klopps every second week. That being in amongst the best will make you a better manager in the process. Winning an FA Cup, getting Leicester to 2 fifth place finishes. I know they probably should have got top 4 in those leagues, but they fell away. Look at the squad he was working with. Only reason that the team went down that season is due to the fact that they weren't spending money. He's a better manager than what was there the first time. It's just taken a little bit of time to get used to his old methods. Now it seems as if everybody's singing from that same notebook, that same hymn sheet, whatever you want to use. It's everybody's just on the same boat, and it seems like everybody's together, everybody's galvanised, and it's definitely a happy place to be at the moment. Look at the players walking around. Look at Joe Hart, fist pumping,
savouring every moment. Yeah.
Cal McGregor giving it big licks at full time. Daiz Maeda loving it, Rio Hitati and Tomoki Iwata as well, all loving it. They all love being a part of this side. Nobody wants to leave this side at the moment.
I know we're biased, but there are a few better places to be when Celtic are successful and you've got 60,000 people cheering you on like they did today and like they did last week. It's a big box ticker and you play Champions League football and stuff like that. It's hard to match that because you ain't getting that adulation anywhere else. I've said this many, many times. So, and it's a powerful drug. And I use that in the
use that in the medical term. I get that.
Yeah, exactly. So
pharmaceutical.
Players are addicted to that. It gets addictive, and you get addicted to winning. The manager's addicted to winning. So, 555 people joining us live on the stream. That's amazing, guys. Thanks very much for your,
especially in this heat as well.
In the heat, and I just think we're all, there's a real inner glow of satisfaction about getting this one over the line, isn't there? We just felt that this manager and this group of players would do it today, Granted, maybe not in the style of what we wanted, but a win's a win for all that. So I don't really particularly care.
What
And yeah, we can pick holes in various things, but they got the job done. And I think if
what I
anybody
would
had offered
say,
you that beforehand, you would have taken it.
what I would say is that it was in perfect symmetry with the way the rest of this season has went. To
Yeah,
win it in
it's,
this way, it has been a messy season, a roller coaster full of ups and downs. It was only going to be settled this way, in my
yeah,
opinion. It's got to remain consistent, and it has. It was the same. It's the second time that sort of game's happened. Look at the similarities between this
yeah,
game and the
yeah,
between this game and the game in December. Red card, 2-1 victory, midfielders scoring in terms of like Paulo Bernardo and Matt O'Reilly. Good to see Matt O'Reilly now getting a couple of Glasgow Derby goals too. Should have had more, should have scored more in previous seasons, but that'll always be on his CV. He's always scored in these big games, and if that is to be his last goal, hopefully he'll score his last goal in the Glasgow Derby. If that is, if he goes, of course, hopefully it's at Hampden. But if that is to be his last Glasgow Derby goal, what a way to finish off! What a finish from the Great
oh,
Dane of Celtic.
tremendous.
He's a joy.
Oh, yeah, you can't not enjoy watching a player like that. Guys, sorry about the comments. We've just been engrossed in the chat. We will flick some up, obviously, from Monday when we're back talking about it. But we could go on all night, really, couldn't we? I'm sure we could, and I'm sure you guys could stay around all night as well. But
I don't want to be competing with Eurovision, Tony.
I
I
always
think
say,
we'll see a
yeah.
real reduction of people because Eurovision's probably about to
I
start. So
always say it's result dependent, isn't it? And what a weekend, guys. Celtic laying one big massive hand around that Scottish Premiership trophy with a 2-1 win over Rangers, Matt O'Reilly and a John Lundstrom OG, and Cyril Dessers scoring for Rangers. But yeah, I guess it's a beautiful day, Ryan, in more ways than one, isn't it?
yeah, we're used to saying beautiful Sunday. It's not a bad Saturday as well, to be honest. Scintillating Saturday, stunning Saturday, whatever you want to call it, whatever adjective you want to use to describe it. Yeah, these are what you look forward to over the season. Days like these when you can effectively finish things off. Wish it was mathematically clear. It feels like that today, even though that isn't the case. But it'll take an almighty collapse. You just don't see this team collapsing. You don't see them collapsing to any means. In fact, I expect them to go out and get the job done on Wednesday with minimal fuss. That's just the way this team goes. You can't give this team any opportunity to go out and put on a show. I think they will go and do it on Wednesday evening in Ayrshire, and I'm looking forward to being a part of that, or being not being a part of that, but being there as it's happening. Hopefully.
And Mark Catt was saying it's a big title win, financially gives Celtic real momentum and puts Rangers in possible financial dire straits again. That's a big thing, Ryan. You cannot underestimate
60
the fact
million.
that Celtic are
That's a
getting
lot of money.
access to possibly 60 million. And that's what the great thing is. And I think one of the other commenters went up too fast, but they said that the great thing was that Dermot Desmond was there to see that today, and he'll know that squad needs improving, and the positions that the manager hopefully will put forward to those and such as those on the top table at Celtic and get what he wants. I think he certainly deserves to get what he wants next season and beyond, because he's done a sterling job this season, really has, and it's a huge title win for Celtic, really. And obviously not mathematically, but it's more or less guaranteed that Celtic will win this title. A point needed against Kilmarnock at Rugby Park or St Mirren at Celtic Park next Saturday. I don't see Celtic relinquishing their grip on the trophy anytime soon, Ryan.
No, I don't see that either. I can see them really putting on a show on Wednesday night. I think they've got something to play for on Wednesday as well, as I alluded to earlier on in this briefing. They've got some revenge to exact as well. I know that word won't be used in the dressing room, but they'll all be thinking it. This side have had they've taken quite a few scalps this season. It's time for Celtic to get their own back with the small bonus of getting a title potentially at the end of it, or being confirmed as champions if it hasn't already been confirmed by that point. Of course, you've got to take that into account. They've got a chance. They've got to take it. They've got to take it. Get it done as soon as possible, and then Saturday takes care of itself, really.
Yes, indeed. Guys, that's nearly 50 minutes. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've been enjoying it during the season. But if you haven't subscribed, here's a good reason why you should. Look at that, guys. 6 months of access for £1. www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. This is open to existing subscribers, new subscribers. One of you will go for a lunch with the Celtic legend that is Martin O'Neill, and I guarantee you that will be a sensational day out. So somebody is going to win that prize, and a wonderful rack-on tour is Martin O'Neill, and just his strapline says a Celtic legend. So hit that subscribe button, guys. www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. I'm going to let Ryan go home because he's in what looks like a sweat box. And and you can enjoy your night wherever you are. And as the manager said, to Celtic fans in bars and houses around the world, hope you're having a good one. We are, aren't we, Ryan?
Not bad. Yeah, not bad. Trying to stay as composed as I can, but it has been a very good day at the office. Plenty of bad days at the office this season, but they've came through when it's most been needed. And this is another very, very good day at the office. And what has been a few weeks of good days at the office. Things are going pretty well, and hopefully they can end it with a flourish, both in the league and in the Scottish Cup at Hampden. You know, one title has effectively been sealed. Let's get the other one now.
Yeah. Hazel Finn, looking forward to Happy Monday. It'll definitely be a happy Monday. Guys, whatever you're doing tonight, as the manager said, have fun.
Cheers, guys.